Part 134. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1331. Chapter 1331 Fancy Reverse Chase 4. Qian Yuman is quite surprised that Tang Xingai works at Dihao Group, and he is still studying while working. He is only 19 years old now. I'm just a sophomore in college, why do I have to go to work? Furthermore, she remembered that he had a talent for painting and had always wanted to be a painter. He was very resistant to his mother Lu Rong's desire to join the Tang dynasty group, and she once came to talk to her and think about future plans. They hadn't seen each other for just over 3 years, and it seemed like his mind had completely changed. Earn extra money, Tang Xingai said indifferently, as if he was talking about something ordinary. You don't paint anymore. I stopped drawing a long time ago. It was still an indifferent tone, but Qian Yuman's jaw dropped in surprise. You don't usually draw anymore. No more painting. Tang Xingai was a little impatient and was not happy to continue talking about this matter. You. Qian Yuman wanted to continue to care about his affairs, but in the end she didn't ask. Just now I asked him why his personality changed so much, and he refused to say a word. Now when I ask him why he doesn't paint, he will definitely not say anything either. I'm afraid that there is a connection between not painting and his drastic change in personality. Could it be that Lu Rong has always opposed his painting? The more I think about it, the more it seems possible. I'm in. Tang Xingai rang the doorbell and called Tang Yuj. Qian Yuman looked forward to it excitedly. She had also forgotten why Tang Xingai changed his personality so much. The most important thing was that Tang Yuj was about to come out. When the time came, she would hold his thigh and beg for forgiveness and explanation, and become a loach that could not be shaken off. About 3 minutes later, Tang Yuj finally came late and walked slowly towards the door, not paying attention to Qian Yuman from beginning to end. Qian Yuman took the trumpet and started talking. Mr. Tang, I know I was wrong. Can you give me a chance to explain why I hurt you before? If you listen, you will definitely forgive me, okay? Qian Yuman tried hard to attract Tang Yuj's attention, but he opened the door without moving his eyes expressionlessly. Qian Yuman saw the gap and got in like a loach. After getting in, she hugged Tang Yuj's thigh, showed a pitiful expression, and pretended to be pitiful towards Tang Yuj. Come in quickly. Tang Yuj still didn't look at Qian Yuman and said to the stunned Tang Xingai. Oh, Tang Xingai quickly ran in, his eyes always paying attention to the strange relationship between the couple, and the funny scene of Qian Yuman holding a trumpet and hugging Tang Yuj's thigh. Mr. Tang, let me tell you, I don't want to get married anymore. I regret it. All I want now is you. Ouch. It hurts me to death. Qian Yuman took the time to explain quickly, but Tang Yuj, who didn't even look at her, actually didn't even look at her. He grabbed her by the back collar and threw her out again. He closed the door and locked Qian Yi. Man locked outside. Rubbing her that hurt from falling again, Qian Yuman was not discouraged and took the horn to seize the opportunity to explain. Mr. Tang, the reason why I was angry with you at the beginning was because there was a misunderstanding between me and you, and the misunderstanding was very big. Just let me go in and explain to you why I misunderstood you, okay? Bump. The door slammed shut, and Tang Xingai and Tang Yuj disappeared from Qian Yuman's sight and never appeared again. She stood at the door like a fool, looking at the huge villa door, expecting Tang Yuj to turn around and open the door and listen to her. Explain. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1332. Chapter 1332, Fancy Chase 5. Hey. It's really scary when Sugar Baby gets angry. He didn't give me a chance to explain at all. He had a stinky face from beginning to end and didn't want to look at me. Qian Yuman was a little frustrated, but it's just a little bit frustrating, not too big. However, some people are still very cruel when they are cruel, and they do even more cruel things than Qian Yuman did at the beginning. Qian Yuman pouted and angrily took the trumpet and shouted to vent his anger. No matter how you pull me, I won't even listen to my explanation. Tisk. Wasn't it that you deceived me into marriage with your lies and refused to love me? Why would I have such random thoughts later? Do you think I am so unambitious and keep begging you to forgive me? Qian Yi, is man so shameless to get someone? Humph. Yes, I am such a shameless person. I will insist on pestering you to make you forgive me and marry me again. I will never let go and torture you for the rest of my life. You. Who the makes me love you? Qian Yuman roared as if to vent his anger, regardless of whether Tang Yuj heard it or not, and tried his best to shout out the dissatisfaction in his heart. After Qian Yuman knows the truth, she can no longer let go easily. She is still very confident in their future. She just needs to continue to work hard and persevere. One day he will be willing to see her and forgive her. If it doesn't work for one day, it will take a month. If it doesn't work for 1 month, it will take a year. At worst, she will be chasing him for forgiveness for the rest of her life. Anyway, she has plenty of time. This time, she couldn't let go and cling to him. Qian Yuman clenched his fists with both hands to encourage himself, he would never be defeated. In the room, Tang Yuj looked at the information brought by Tang Xingai expressionlessly, turning a deaf ear to Qian Yuman's roar outside. The sound wasn't very loud, but you could still hear it if you listened carefully. Tang Xingai standing nearby could hear it clearly. Brother, you and your sister-in-law quarreled. It's okay to lose your temper. Seeing how sincere she is, just forgive her. Tang Xingai still prefers teacher Qian in his heart, and is very satisfied with teacher Qian, his sister-in-law. Seeing her begging for forgiveness so shamelessly, I couldn't help but say nice things for her. Tang Yuj threw a cold knife at his younger brother. You talk too much. Tang Xingai let out a sigh of relief, and was surprised that his elder brother was so cruel, and that his sister-in-law said such touching words, but he was still unmoved and had the mood to read the information in his hand. Qian Yuman, who was lying on the deck chair at the gate and looking at the sky speechlessly, sighed on Monday. Your Majesty, there is an unruly citizen asking for an audience. It is up to you whether to answer the call or to occupy it. The interesting ringtone of the mobile phone broke Qian Yuman's self-pity. She lazily took out her cell phone and looked at it. It was actually a call from Murong 11. Thinking of her baby daughter Ruru, she sat up excitedly. Murong 11 called her. Could it be that he had changed his mind and wanted to return his daughter to her? Qian Yuman became very excited because of the call from Murong 11. She looked at the screen of her phone and quickly swiped the screen to answer it. Hey, Xioxi, I'm here. What do you want from me? Does my daughter miss me? I'm going to go and see. No, Murong 11 interrupted Qian Yuman's thoughts with a headache. No, my daughter doesn't miss me. Wow, so sad. No, they didn't seem to be chatting on the same channel. Come to me quickly. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1333. Chapter 1333. The sun's routine is deep one. Where are you going? Okay, okay. Does my daughter miss me? Qian Yuman said excitedly. She was kicked out last time she went there. Unexpectedly, she actually invited her to go this time. It seems that she doesn't hate it that much, and finally figured it out and wants to return her daughter to her. No. It's your son who misses his mother and keeps crying at my side. I can't do anything about him. Come over and pick him up quickly. Murong 11 rubbed his temples with a headache. There was nothing he could do about the mother and son. The older one suddenly appeared and wanted to Ruru away. The younger one took possession of her sister at the slightest disagreement. Finally, she started crying because of her mother. No matter how she coaxed her, it was of no avail. Ah! My son is crying for his mother, Qian Yuman thought she heard wrongly, rubbed her ears, and asked again in disbelief. Yes, your son has been crying for half an hour. I really can't do anything about him. Come here quickly. After saying that, Murong 11 hung up the phone with some depression and looked at the man who kept crying in front of her before sobbing. Angry little Mickey. The whole family is troublesome. Qian Yuman, who was hung up on, stared at the phone in a daze, with a question mark on her face. What's the situation? The son cries and wants his mother? I recall that when little Mickey just started talking, he didn't even cry for his mother. My son doesn't like to cry at all. He thinks crying is not cool at all and does not reflect his manly fortitude, so he rarely cries. I cried only a handful of times. How could I cry and fuss just because I haven't seen my mother for a day? That must not be her son would never be like this. Has the son been exchanged? Qian Yuman was full of doubts, so she packed her things and drove back. The chairs and table were left at the door of Tanyu's house. They would be needed for some time in the future. It would be too troublesome to move them around. Qian Yuman drove to Murong's house. When she arrived at the location, she still couldn't figure out why her son was crying for his mother. It was so weird. When I arrived at the location and stepped into the door, I heard my son crying. He was really crying, and it had been going on for more than 40 minutes. Oh my God! Her son finally looks like a normal kid. She was so touched that she cried for her mother. Qian Yuman rushed in quickly, ran to her son, and held her son lovingly in her arms. Little Mickey, Mommy is here, Mommy is here, don't cry, be good. She held her in her arms and ravaged her distressingly. Think about it, after all, little Mickey is still a child under 3 years old. Mommy will definitely think about it after being away for so long. There was no one he knew here, so he would definitely be afraid and worried. It was because of her lack of consideration that she left her son behind and concentrated on trying to please Tanyuj. As a mother, she must reflect on this. Little Mickey has stopped crying, but his body is still gasping for air. He hugs his mother's neck tightly and refuses to let go. Qian Yuman patted her son on the back and kept saying nice things. Murong 11 hugged Ruru and stood aside to look at the two people who had a deep love for mother and son. You are finally here. I was afraid that your son would become dumb from crying here. Excuse me. Qian Yuman smiled apologetically and wiped the tears from her son's face. Hurry up and take your son away. If something happens to your son here, I won't be able to explain to you. Murong 11 waved her hand and drove away the mother and son. She was afraid of them, seeing a child for the first time. She can cry for so long, but her baby Ruru can only cry for a few minutes at most before being laughed at. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1334. Chapter 1334. The son's routine is deep too. This. Qian Yuman hesitated to pick her up someday, but she didn't expect that little Mickey, who was hugging her, pinched her back with his little claws. Son, this is. Qian Yuman looked at her son in confusion, but saw that his son kept blinking at her, and looked like he hated iron. How could he have such an idiotic mother's expression? No, baby, don't leave. The baby needs to be with his sister, little Mickey said in a milky voice, grabbing Qian Yuman's sleeves, shaking his head and refusing to leave, trying to hold back his mouth and cry again. Qian Yuman instantly understood her son. He was just pretending to cry. She said that how could her baby Mickey cry and call mommy? It turned out to be her son's routine. He simply cried and shouted on purpose, and then asked Murong 11 to come to him, and then gave her a chance to get along with her daughter. His son was so smart. Aunt Murong little Mickey still shouted to Murong 11 in a babyish voice. His pitiful little expression was so aggrieved that people felt distressed and wanted to hold him in their arms and give him the whole world. The impulse is overwhelming, but there is no other way. Little Mickey's appearance is extremely lethal, especially when he deliberately pretends to be naive. It is enhanced several times. Aunt Murong, would you like mommy and the baby to sleep together? You mean to ask your mommy to stay too? Murong 11 frowned slightly and looked down at the sleepy Ruru in his arms, and then at Qian Yuman, who also looked forward to him. She is her love rival and the woman who severely hurt Yuj. Do you really want her to stay? She was afraid that she couldn't help but want to teach her a lesson, and even wanted to beat her up if she disagreed with her. Little Mickey hummed vigorously, and even the hum had a tactful ending, unlike his usual cold hum. His big and bright eyes looked at Murong 11 expectantly. Who would be willing to reject him with that attitude? Seeing Murong 11's hesitant look, little Mickey continued to beg, clasping his hands together and putting them to his mouth. Please, please. The way Qian Yuman was begged by her son was so cute that she almost screamed. She had never seen her son so cute. Aw! I'm so jealous. Although my son did this for himself, I'm still jealous. He actually did it to Murong 11, why not her? The son she has raised for nearly 3 years has never begged her like this. Although he occasionally acts cute for his own purposes, his lethality is not so powerful. In spite of. Anyway, her son is so cute and she likes it so much. Qian Yuman held her son's head and rubbed his little face, with a satisfied look on her face. Okay, seeing the deep love between mother and son, Murong 11 agreed reluctantly. Looking at Ruru, who was already asleep in her arms, she said coldly. If you please, I'll take Ruru to bed. Go, go, Qian Yuman waved goodbye. He was in a good mood now and would not argue with her. But, her eyes fell on the scene of Murong 11 and Ruru being intimate again. She really wanted to hug her daughter and sleep together. Seeing Murong 11 leaving with Ruru in his arms and holding Qian Yuman's coquettish little Mickey in his arms, his face immediately changed and turned into a serious expression again. Little Mickey patted Qian Yuman on the shoulder with a serious face and took the oath. Mommy, don't worry, you stay here today and bring your sister to sleep with us tomorrow. Today is just a small step, and I will continue to work hard to win my sister's heart in the future. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1335. Chapter 1335. The son's routine is deep. 3. Baby son, little Mickey, mommy's good son, mommy is so lucky to have a child as smart as you. Qian Yuman felt sweet in her heart, her son was awesome. The sense of loss on Ruru's side and the frustration on Tangyu's side were all cured by his son. With this treasure, if there is anything you are not satisfied with, make up for it with other unearned things, and you will be rewarded one day. The little Mickey in front of her is the most proud darling in her life. The next morning, Qian Yuman got up early and cooked a delicious breakfast himself. Little Mickey also got up after mommy woke up, and thoughtfully helped mommy by the side, such as beating eggs and other tasks that did not require too much skill. At the end, a sleepy pink figure staggered over, her little nose kept twitching, but her eyes were still squinted. It was Ruru, who was attracted by the fragrance. She smelled the delicious food in her sleep and ran downstairs to the kitchen uncontrollably. Because she hadn't woken up yet, but couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food, she closed her eyes and staggered over to look for food. Seeing Ruru getting up, Qian Yuman's eyes lit up. She put the breakfast on the dining table with a plate, trotted up to Ruru, squatted down, and spoke softly. Ruru, you're awake, are you hungry? Mommy will make you a lot of delicious breakfast. Mommy, Ruru tilted her head in confusion and looked back in the direction of Murong 11 upstairs. Isn't her mother still sleeping? Are you hungry? I don't know what you like to eat, so I made a breakfast table with different characteristics for you. You can choose some to eat. Jian Yuman picked up Ruru with a bright smile, carried her to the dining table, and pointed with food on the table. What to eat? Ruru was still a little sleepy, but when she saw the 10 breakfast dishes with different characteristics on the table, her eyes lit up and all the sleepy heads were kicked away. Wow wow wow, so many delicious delicacies, Ruru exclaimed, having never seen so many delicacies on the breakfast table. Looking down the details, almost all of them were her favorite food, and her saliva was dripping. Ruru's eyes kept observing the exquisite breakfast on the table, and she didn't want to blink. Then he pointed at the white rabbit bean paste buns and pig custard buns in the steamer, waving his paws excitedly. I want to eat little rabbits, and little piggies. I really want to eat them all, but my stomach can't hold them. Jian Yuman's smile became even brighter. He put all the snacks his daughter wanted to eat on her plate and sat aside to watch her eat. Eat it in small bites with your small mouth. It's a little hot, but you're so greedy that you don't want to wait. Your eyes are full of laughter. The little expression that opened and closed his little mouth and smiled at her made Jian Yuman's carefully prepared breakfast get the maximum value. Today's breakfast is not in vain, my daughter loves it. Little Mickey next to him was very good, eating egg pancakes and soy milk in small bites. Looking at her children eating her carefully prepared breakfast, Jian Yuman felt even more satisfied. This feeling of happiness was so beautiful. Everything Aunt cooks is delicious, I love you so much. Ruru ate a little white rabbit, grinned at Jian Yuman, and praised her craftsmanship. Eat more if it's delicious. Jian Yuman smiled and gave her other breakfast items. The daughter still calls her aunt, and she still feels disappointed in her heart, but it doesn't matter. There will be a long time in the future to slowly repair the missing 3 years between mother and daughter, so that she can slowly accept her new mother. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1336. Chapter 1336. The son's routine is deep. 4. The daughter still calls her aunt, and she still feels disappointed in her heart, but it doesn't matter. There will be a long time in the future to slowly repair the missing 3 years between mother and daughter, so that she can slowly accept her new mother. When Murong 11 went downstairs, she saw the 3 of them, mother and son, having breakfast happily. Ruru, in particular, was obviously getting closer to Jian Yuman, which made her feel melancholy. Is her little baby really going to be taken away by Jian Yuman? Seeing them getting closer and closer, she couldn't calm down at all and wanted to throw Jian Yuman out. In the past 3 years, I have spent a lot of thought on Ruru, and their mother-daughter relationship is also very good. In her busy work, she still spends a lot of time with Ruru, and Ruru relies on her very much. Even though Ruru's existence deterred many suitors around her, she didn't care. She didn't care about being a single mother in the eyes of others and raised Ruru unconditionally. I always thought that she could grow up with Ruru and watch her get married and have children. In the past, she never thought that Ruru's biological mother would come to her door. If it were someone else, she would never return it. She didn't expect it to be Yuz's child. Jian Yuman, Jian Yuman. Why is she so happy, with Yuz's undying love, and a cute and smart son? Now she wants to take her daughter away from her. Damn it! The more Murong 11 thought about it, the angrier he became, and the more he thought about it, the more he wanted to throw Jian Yuman out, or bring him in front of him and beat him up. In the end, Murong 11 chose to turn around and leave, giving the three of them, mother and son, a space to get along, and allowing herself to calm down for fear of losing control. Before going out, Jian-Yuman hugged her son and rubbed his cute face. "Little Mickey, take good care of your sister at home. Mom is going to stay at your father's door this time. Don't call me for 2 or 3 days. Mommy, go ahead, I will take good care of my sister, and I will also provide her with ideological education behind Aunt Murong's back," little Mickey promised, patting his chest, not to mention how serious his little expression was. It's a pity that his sister is not as smart as him, otherwise he could fool her home with just a few words. Jian-Yuman burst into laughter and rubbed her precious son's head. "I know you are smart, and my sister's affairs depend on you. Mommy, bye." Little Mickey leaned over and kissed Jian-Yuman on the face. He turned his head again, pulled his cute little sister, and tapped Jian-Yuman's cheek. "Ruru, you need a kiss on the cheek to say goodbye." "Why?" Ruru tilted her head in confusion. Little Mickey was talking nonsense seriously. "Kiss Mommy's cheek every time you say goodbye to her, and she will cook something for us next time. You will become smarter after eating the breakfast made by Mommy. You see, my brother is so smart just because he eats it every day." "Brother, is it true?" Ruru's eyes were shining, staring at Jian-Yuman's cheek. Kissing her cheek would make her smarter. After 2 days of getting along, Ruru sweetly called Little Mickey brother. Little Mickey was tired of being with his sister every day, and the relationship between the two became closer. Ruru looked at Little Mickey with admiration in her eyes, and was surprised by this. "Why does my brother know everything? Real?" Jian-Yuman also looked at Ruru expectantly. Is Ruru going to kiss herself? Is this really going to happen? It's so exciting to think about it. Although Ruru didn't understand why kissing would make you smarter, but her brother said that kissing would make you smarter, so it must be true. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1337. Chapter 1337 Entering the House. Jian-Yuman also looked at Ruru expectantly. Is Ruru going to kiss herself? Is this really going to happen? It's so exciting to think about it. Although Ruru didn't understand why kissing would make you smarter, but her brother said that kissing would make you smarter, so it must be true. Ruru opened her little paws, hugged Jian-Yuman's face, and kissed her on the cheek. Then she shyly hid behind Little Mickey and stuck out her little head to look at Jian-Yuman's expression curiously. Jian-Yuman already laughed like a flower because her daughter kissed her, and excitedly waved her hands and feet to say goodbye. Last night, because his son called him back, he did not continue to stay at home. Could it be that Mr. Tang misunderstood that he was not persistent enough and vowed that he would never leave, but ended up leaving after a whole day? Jian-Yuman quickly ran towards home, this time bringing other delicacies. This time he would have to squat for 3 days and 3 nights, and he would not leave until he died. This time, the car Jian-Yuman drove turned into a RV, and it was quite large. It often stopped at the door and refused to leave. The RV is fully equipped, including red wine, a small kitchen, a bed, and a bunch of snacks in the small living room. She got this car from Wang Tianyue. He apologized sincerely, but just because she didn't buy it didn't mean she couldn't cheat him. Wang Tianyue was very strange during this period. He would agree to a lot of her weak requests, and the RV was one of them. Jian-Yuman parked the RV in front of her house and came under the big tree. She found that the table and chairs she had left behind had been moved inside. "TCH, you think I can't do anything if you move them?" Jian-Yuman smiled contemptuously, took out a beach chair and a small coffee table from the car, placed snacks and fruits on the table, and lay down comfortably on it to wait for someone. Fortunately, she was prepared in advance. According to Tang Xingai's secret agent, Tang Yuj did not go out today. He asked for leave to rest at home and did not go out to work. Tisk, 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 I thought he would work all the time and become a workaholic. It seems that the rumors are not true enough. Jianyuman drank juice comfortably and lazily held a book. Of course, he would pick it up every half hour. He shouted Tangyu's name with his life through the loudspeaker. It was getting dark without realizing it. Jianyuman looked up at the house and stood up depressedly. Aren't you going out today? What will he eat? Jianyuman was worried that Mr. Tang would starve. Apart from being able to cook white rice in a rice cooker, Mr. Tang was very poor at other skills and it was difficult to eat. Jianyuman walked back and forth at the door. When she approached the door opened, and then the stiff sound of the intelligence system sounded. Welcome Mrs. Tang home. Well. Jianyuman was stunned for a few seconds, staring blankly at the opened door. What are you doing? The door is unlocked. She was still standing guard at the door stupidly, because Mr. Tang locked it last time, so she didn't realize this time that the door might not be locked and she hadn't gotten close to it yet. This time I discovered it only when I got closer out of boredom. And Mr. Tang actually hasn't disabled her facial recognition yet, so she can still enter freely. Wow! You really can't let me go, Jianyuman cheered and rushed in happily, because she realized that he couldn't let her go and recognized that she was the mistress of the family. She was so happy that she was bubbling with happiness. Jianyuman ran in happily, turned on the light and shouted happily. My beloved Mr. Tang, where are you? I'm here to find you. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1338. Chapter 1338 Sick 1. Jianyuman ran in happily, turned on the light and shouted happily. My beloved Mr. Tang, where are you? I'm here to find you. Jianyuman looked around for Mr. Tang. When he passed by the kitchen, he glanced at the kitchen and saw the packaging of Vadane food. The kitchen was already in a mess. Tangyuj had to get up and make food for himself, but he failed and had no choice but to eat microwaved food. And he didn't even take a few bites before he was thrown into the trash can. Seeing this, Jianyuman covered her mouth and snickered, raising her chin proudly. How can I eat this with the mouth that this fairy feeds and holds in my mouth? Isn't that torturing myself? Now you know what I'm doing, at least you don't have to worry about 3 meals a day. Jianyuman looked for Tangyuj with a bright smile, and finally saw Tangyuj sleeping on their warm big bed. Seeing that Tangyuj was still sleeping on the bed, unmoved by his calls and sleeping so soundly, he felt a little dissatisfied. What? I called you so loudly, but you ignored me, but I didn't care, at least I didn't come out to chase her away. Jianyuman jumped into the room, shaking her head and saying good things. My favorite sugar baby is up. Don't pretend to be asleep. How can you still be sleeping when I make such a big noise? If you want to pretend, just keep pretending. I will speak for myself. Jianyuman sat on the edge of the bed and looked at Tangyu's handsome face, whose eyes were still closed. Why? No matter how you look at it, sugar babies are the most handsome. They look so handsome when sleeping. It's been a long time since we were intimate. I really want to pounce on him immediately and do bad things quickly. But if you pounce now, you will definitely be pushed away by Mr. Tang. Mr. Tang, I know that I hurt you too much before, and I regret it. But I still have to explain that all this was caused by your brother Tianyuo. By the way, you don't know that Ruru is actually our daughter. Our daughter is not dead. I didn't realize that she might be our daughter last time. When I got the paternity test results from you and her, we were father and daughter, so I dumped her in an extreme way. You have to know, I regret it very much now. And I ask you to forgive me immediately. It doesn't matter if you continue to punish me for a few days, as long as you will eventually reconcile with me, then I will be satisfied. Mr. Tang, please don't let me go, okay? Jianyuman said a lot of words, but found that the person on the bed didn't respond at all. Strange, knowing that Ruru is their daughter, why is there no reaction at all? It shouldn't be. He has been unable to let go of his daughter's death. How could he know that Ruru was the daughter back then and didn't respond? Mr. Tang, Qian Yuman reached out and pushed Tang Yuj, but there was still no response. A possibility flashed through Qian Yuman's mind, her face changed drastically, and she stretched out her hand to shake Tang Yuj's body vigorously, but there was still no reaction, but her brows furrowed even tighter. The slender hand touched his forehead, but it felt an unusually high temperature. Oh my God! Why is it so hot? No wonder there is no reaction at all. I don't know how long it has been burning. You don't know how to call someone if you don't feel well? Even if you don't call me, there is Xingai, otherwise Murong 11 won't be jealous. Qian Yiman took out her cell phone angrily and called Tang Yuj's family doctor. He poured cold water on his forehead to cool him down, and took good care of Mr. Tang before the doctor came. The doctor lives not far away and arrived in less than 10 minutes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1339. Chapter 1339 Sick 2. He poured cold water on his forehead to cool him down, and took good care of Mr. Tang before the doctor came. Fortunately, the doctor lives nearby. He received a call from Qian Yuman and rushed over very quickly. Qian Yuman watched worriedly as the doctor expertly examined Tang Yuj's body, and kept asking the doctor about his condition worriedly. Dr. Zhang, are Mr. Tang okay? Dr. Zhang sighed while giving Tang Yuj a fever-reducing injection, and looked at Qian Yuman with complaints in his eyes. Mr. Tang's illness has not recovered since the last time he caught a cold in the rain. During this period, he has not taken care of his body and is immersed in work. I have told him many times, but he still insists on working and finally feels better. This time not sick again. Mrs. Tang, as Mr. Tang's family doctor, I solemnly advise you to persuade Mr. Tang not to work anymore, at least not until the disease is completely cured. Otherwise, it will be difficult to deal with the root cause of the disease. Okay, I will persuade him. Qian Yuman nodded repeatedly, with a worried look on his face. Dr. Zhang's words made her understand the reason and she felt even more uncomfortable. The bad guy Mr. Tang, punish her, she admits it. Why do you still torture your body? You don't know how to take good care of your body and take good care of it. The image of him standing under the rain begging her in Rome kept coming to mind. How desperate and painful he felt at that time. She is indeed not a human being, and she has caused so much harm to Mr. Tang. The doctor left after giving his instructions again and again. Qian Yuman was busy taking care of him, waiting for Mr. Tang's fever to completely subside. She barely closed her eyes all night. After making sure that Tang Yuj's fever had subsided, she climbed into bed and rested for a while. Lying next to Tang Yuj, looking at his pale face, feeling distressed and relieved at the same time, she placed her little hands on his waist and abdomen. He is sick now, so he must not have the strength to throw her out. She has already come in, and she will definitely not go out again. She is unwilling to go out even if she rushes. She will cling to him, and she will never leave until at least he recovers from his illness. Hold Tang Yuj in his arms, smelling his scent, and slowly fell into sleep. The morning sun shines in, and the handsome and evil man on the bed slowly opens his beautiful phoenix eyes. His fever had just subsided and he was very weak. His head hurt slightly and he still had a sense of depression in his stomach. He looked towards his stomach, only to see a long leg across his body and a pair of hands on his chest. No wonder he felt so tired when he woke up. He turned his head and saw the bright and beautiful face close at hand, the woman he loved most. Why is she here? In his bed? He sneaked in again. This time he was brave enough to climb into bed. He struggled for a moment and realized that his body couldn't use up his strength. Was he sick? Looking around, he saw empty bottles and wash basins, and a towel was placed on his forehead. His eyes fell on the woman pressing him on the bed again. There was a faint dark shadow under her eyes. She took care of herself all night last night. Why? Chien-er, what should I do with you? Tanyuj closed his eyes again and waited until he had the strength to speak. He was definitely not reluctant to drive her away, and he definitely didn't feel sorry for her taking care of him all night last night. He is just very weak and needs rest. It was noon when Chien Yuman fell asleep. She was woken up by herself because of hunger. When she got up, she immediately put her hand on his forehead to make sure he still had a fever. She was relieved after making sure that the fever did not recur. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1340. Chapter 1340. I'm afraid of being cheap one. Aha! You're awake. Chien Yuman suddenly ran in with a look of surprise and excitement, as if she had been discovered by me. Tanyuj was concentrating on drinking porridge when Chien Yuman suddenly rushed in. Tanyuj was surprised and spat out the white porridge in his mouth in a straight line on the quilt. There were still a few grains of rice hanging around his mouth. His eyes widened. He stared at Chien Yuman, who looked mean-looking without blinking. Seeing Tanyuj's embarrassed look, Chien Yuman laughed without any shame, squatting on the ground with his belly in his hands and laughing wildly. Tanyuj coughed awkwardly and roared angrily. What are you laughing at? Chien Yuman bent over and walked towards Tanyuj with a smile. She found a piece of cloth to wipe the white porridge sprayed out by Tanyuj on the bed, and glanced at him from time to time. Why are you here? Did I allow you to come in? Tanyuj raised his chin proudly, holding the porridge in his hands to drink it, or not to drink it. He was very embarrassed. What do you think? Chien Yuman blinked, took the bowl from Tanyuj's hand, and fed him herself. Hand the spoon to his mouth with a smile on his face. Open your mouth. Tanyuj turned his head and refused arrogantly. Chien Yuman pretended not to know what he meant and lowered her head to blow on the white porridge. Not hot. Chien Yuman, Tanyuj shouted through gritted teeth. Here you are. Chien Yuman's expression was still very mean, as if she was glaring at him as he spoke. She was clinging to Tanyuj anyway, and now that he had come in, he had no strength to drive her away, so she clung to him shamelessly, pretending not to understand what he was saying. So what if she understood? She could accept it anyway except leaving. I'm fine now, you can leave. He refused to open his mouth and eat the white porridge that Chien Yuman brought to his mouth. Woo-oh. Chien Yuman put down the bowl, turned her head in a delicate and pretentious manner, and pretended to cry. You heartless person, I took care of you all night last night. I cooked you delicious food when you woke up, and drove you away when you were no longer hungry. How can you be such a bad person? How can we say that we were husband and wife? As the saying goes, how could you be so cruel when you say that one night's love lasts for 100 days, it's so bad. No matter what you say, I won't let you stay. Tanyuj's attitude remained firm, with a stinky face. Chien Yuman stared at Tanyuj and fell down on the bed, forming a big character shape and turning on the rogue mode. I won't leave anyway. If you have the strength, drive me away. I won't suffer anyway, so I'll just stay here shamelessly. Chien Yuman closed her eyes and didn't look at Tanyuj's stinky face. Just assume he agreed. Dreaming, I can find someone. Yaya. Namo Amitba, Avalakai Tesvara Bodhisattva. Chien Yuman covered her ears with her hands and began to mutter, refusing to hear what Tanyuj said. Anyway, she couldn't hear anything, not I just don't know when I hear it. Chien Yuman covered her ears and got up from the bed and ran out quickly. She didn't hear Tang Yu's threatening words from the beginning to the end. Qian Yuman, you. Tang Yu sighed helplessly. His body was still too weak, and there was really nothing he could do to stop her from acting rogue. Could it be possible to really find someone to throw her out? Now he didn't have the strength to get up and let people in. Outsiders couldn't come in without their permission. This was the result of a great tragedy. She stayed with honor and shame. End of this chapter.